Welcome to the video tutorial Project Finance Principles of Risk Analysis. The following topics are addressed: the three essential questions of risk analysis, presumed risk allocation, communication, contractual risk allocation, documentation, de facto risk allocation, evaluation. The video tutorial will be concluded by a list of references and an imprint. Which questions should be asked when analyzing project risk? Three questions should be asked. The first question concerns the aspect of communication, or in other words, the presumed risk allocation. What has been communicated in terms of project risk sharing? The second question concerns the aspect of documentation, or in other words, the contractual risk allocation. Does communication match contractual arrangements with the relevant project parties? The third question concerns the aspect of evaluation, or in other words, the de facto risk allocation. What is the implicit credit risk of risk-taking parties? Why is it important to analyze the presumed risk allocation? The arrangements and instruments by which the risk transfer is to be effected must be isolated or documented. Information sources for this are information memoranda or written or verbally communicated statements on the planned project concept. In the presumed risk allocation, a distinction must be made between project external and project internal risk allocation. As far as identifiable, the reason for the chosen risk design must be determined from the available information or alternatively derived from the overall context in order to obtain a rounded picture of subjective motivations and factual requirements. Why is it important to analyze the contractual risk allocation? In the second step, the legal implementation of the project concept, that is, the concrete design of the contractual agreements, must be analyzed. The obvious question is whether specific project risks are assigned to other project external parties. The concrete phrasing and thereby the material substance of agreements, including the effectiveness and enforceability of the negotiated or planned legal agreements, must be scrutinized. Furthermore, legal opinions with special consideration of the relevant jurisdictions and the law used must be obtained and examined. The lenders and their advisors will also have to ensure that the complexity of the contracts not only satisfies abstract legal requirements, but also corresponds with the legal culture of the project location and involved parties. This is sometimes referred to as the lawyer's reality test. Why is it important to analyze the de facto risk allocation? Even if the communicated and contractual risk allocation is consistent, the de facto risk allocation may deviate. In the third step, the creditworthiness of the parties must therefore be taken into account. Here, it will not only be important to assess the status quo based on historical data. In addition, the future value of the commitments during the entire term of the project contracts has to be forecasted. At this point, the fundamental dilemma of future-oriented lending decisions becomes apparent. The longer the anticipated cash flows of project financing are supposedly stabilized by corresponding contractual agreements, the more uncertain they become due to the medium to long-term uncertainty of the creditworthiness of the parties. In the best case, all parties will meet any future obligations arising from the contracts. In the worst case, a situation could arise in which the remaining risks are finally assumed by the sponsors and/or the lending banks who have to step in to save the project.